listening to Truth or Dare to Share by Ambitiously Intuitive.
Welcome to episode 4. I am super stoked for this fetch episode where we're going to talk about Mean Girls. So as mentioned, if you're still hanging out with us, we go in the order of movie, book, and then show. So we are back to a movie round talking about Mean Girls, which is pretty timely given there is a musical movie coming out here shortly. I believe the date is January 12th, 2024 that's going to be coming out. So this is Truth or Dare to Share, and we're really excited that you're here with us. We'll do quick intros because you're probably still getting to know this group. My name is Lacey Larson. I am sitting in New York City, and I love all things introspection and particularly looking at how characters, especially fictional characters, influence our lives. And you're here with 3 of my closest friends who hopefully share the same passion. If not, I wrangled them into doing this with me. So maybe they'll tell you over time. Michelle, do you want to intro yourself to folks listening?
Hi, friends. Yes, I am Michelle. I'm over in the panhandle of Florida, and I love all things food related, the beach, my dogs, and reading. I didn't get into reading until the pandemic because of, you got it, less Lacey. So, yeah, it's been a new learning hobby of mine, and I'm excited to talk about the stories.
Kenyatta?
Hey, I'm Kenyatta Antel. I am an entertainment buff. I love the industry. I love set life. I love design, writing, anything about the entertainment industry. I'm here for it, and I am here for Mean Girls because it's like my era of cult classic. So I'm excited.
She's here for it, literally, emotionally, artistically. And Cynthia?
Hi, all. I'm Cynthia. I love books, movies, TV shows, and all things celebrity gossip. And I'm really excited to talk about Mean Girls because I feel like this was a staple of my childhood.
Yeah. Rewatched it last Monday. And for folks who are, I gotta get used to talking today because clearly it's not coming out. Maybe it's because of the level of excitement. For folks who are getting used to our structure, we do 3 acts in inspiration for Shakespeare because I lack originality. Self-deprecation aside, Act 1 is our reaction. Act 2 is rapid fire question round. Sometimes it's rapid fire, sometimes it's more robust than that. And then in Act 3, we embody the name of the show and we play Truth or Dare, where we essentially either choose truth and look back either at our present or our past and share something about ourselves that was inspired by the story, or we choose dare, and sometimes we choose trare because we combine the two, but daring how we can perhaps be differently after being inspired by the characters in the story. So without further ado, we're going to jump into Act 1 and just do general reaction. If you haven't seen Mean Girls by now, well, first of all, I don't know how you've existed without interacting with this story, but that's okay if you haven't. But every episode is spoiler alert because we do share things that happen throughout the entirety of the story. So if you want to pause and go watch it now, now's the time. Or by the end of this, maybe you'll be inspired to go watch it. So Cynthia, why don't you kick things off when it comes to your reaction to the story, the characters, Gretchen Wieners, Regina George, anybody?
I guess I really liked this movie. I feel like I'm trying to remember what it felt like the first time watching it because I think it was just exciting and also you could connect with a lot of different characters. I think that's also something I think that is also pulls you in with Mean Girls. And also sometimes how those characters treated you or you treated others and all of those things. So I love Mean Girls. I think that it still resonates even with the younger generations. So.
Kenyatta?
So I loved Mean Girls because it was so relatable. And I'm a big fan of 90s teen movies. So it had that, that story breakdown, the popular girl, the not so popular girl, except it put a twist on it because in the 90s, the not so popular girl always had to end up on top. Not so much with Mean Girls. And I love that Regina was bitchy and she was allowed to be bitchy, and we loved that she was bitchy, and we all knew somebody like her in our real lives. And it just continued the legacy of, you know, the HBIC movies. You had Debs, you had Jawbreaker, now you have Mean Girls. It's like there will always be that one girl in school, and it's gonna be timeless because it's gonna pass on through generations and through generations. Like Regina's gonna teach her child to be a Regina, and we're all gonna hate her child. And my child's gonna go to school with her child, and I'm gonna hate her child. Like, I don't know.
If there's anybody who would school Regina George, it is definitely Genesis. Child. I would watch
trying
that
to prevent
movie.
her from being Regina, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just resonated at the time because I was a teenager and going through the same thing that Katie was going through for the most part, or around a lot of fucking Reginas at the time. So
yeah,
it hit home. I loved it.
Michelle?
Yeah, so I didn't remember everything, so I just recently rewatched it, and oh my gosh, I don't think they could record a movie like that nowadays. But it was so relatable to Kenyatta's point, because if you flash back, you can remember things going from middle school to high school. For me, relating to Katie, it's like middle school, you're like this dork and nobody knows who you are, and you're transitioning into high school. And then to your point, I mean, there's so many cliques and groups, and you're like, well, oh my God, can I just have my own group because I don't want to take part in anything else? And it was very relatable. It's funny, it's cringeworthy, and oh, you realize all the things that you went through when you rewatch it as an adult.
I remember, I don't remember how I felt when I watched it, and I also rewatched it, and I've seen this movie a dozen or a couple dozen times over the course of the last, 20 years. When did it come out? Do we know the year that it came out? We can look that up. We can find that out later. Somebody do that research. But I felt similar to Katie, to Lindsay Lohan's character, because I had come from a small Catholic school, and then I went to a large public school from like 30 people that I knew from kindergarten through 8th grade to 500 people. And Cynthia just texted me, so let me clip this out. She just said something happened with my screen.
It came out in 2004.
Okay. Cynthia hopefully will be rejoining. So 2004. So I was 2 years in high school. So I would have been like a sophomore or a junior at that time. But I do remember feeling that I don't really know the customs here. Like, I wore a uniform for almost 10 years, whatever, from being 5 to 14. And then I remember just being so excited that I could choose what I was going to wear. And then so many things resonated in that movie, like somebody being like, oh, what you're wearing is so cute. And somebody being nice to your face. And then what do they say to you behind your back, or choosing which lunch table. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that top on you.
Oh my God, I love that bracelet. Where'd you get it? And I also think about Kenyatta, Michelle, and I all went to the same high school. Michelle and I were seniors when Kenyatta was a freshman, but I do remember going to the lunchroom, and you could see kind of who was sitting with who. And because I was a cheerleader for the most part every year except my junior year, I was usually going to sit with the cheerleaders. Or, it was like during 5th period, I think, at Pine Forest, where you might sit with the people that you had that class with, and then go with them. But there was some sort of structure, like who you sat with in the beginning was likely who you were going to sit with the remainder of the year. And so,
and to just going back, to be clear, Lacey, we ran to the lunchroom because
on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
if you went to our high school, you wanted the fried chicken.
This was before Michelle Obama, so school lunch was Really
School
good.
lunches were still, let's go with
Really good.
unregulated.
They were still real greasy, real fattening, real good.
Yeah, you could still get soda in the vending machines. I remember where the vending machines were, but yeah, we ran. And so there's so many parallels that I could make. And I would say general reaction was feeling seen, or they did a really good job capturing different cliques. They did a really good job capturing gossip, people saying one thing to your face, like the three-way calls that they do. And just, ah, man, how teenagers and sometimes even adults that don't grow, um, behave. And when it comes to being one person as somebody's face and being a different person behind your back. And yeah, there's so many things for us to unpack. Cynthia, did you get back with us? Looks like you're still off video.
And if you're Gen Z and you're watching, so this was back when we had landlines, and everybody pretty much had like a corded phone in their room. And
Mm-hmm.
the messy thing to do to keep up all the drama would be to call somebody and be like, hey, I heard such and such was talking about you. I'm going to call them and get them to admit it. Don't say anything. And you'll use your third line. You'll click over and you'll call. And you basically talk shit about the person that you just called. And then at the end of the call, be like, oh, and such is on the phone. And they'll be like, oh, I can't believe you just said that about me. So now you created this whole web of mess. I mean, I didn't do it, but my sister did.
I don't know if it ever happened to me, but I don't think I ever did that. I think if I was like friends with a guy, I would call the guy to like talk about her to see if he would like admit to liking her. I did it more to help facilitate relationships or when somebody likes somebody. I never did it. I don't know. But if again, if it happened on the receiving end of me, I definitely had frenemies in high school. I think that happened to me more in middle school, and I'm not removing responsibility because I think to some people they would think I was a Regina, but I felt more like a Katie, and it's sometimes more like a Gretchen Wieners of like, um, trying to like not compete with my friend, but like we couldn't really have an honest conversation. We didn't have like the maturity to really vocalize
Mm.
what was going on
No,
with each other.
not at
We
all.
definitely
And
wasn't mature enough yet.
no, and I think I could have been all of them at some point. So can I just
Yeah.
publicly apologize to anybody if you felt any certain way towards me? But I'm in a
Did
new
it?
chapter. Actually, I'm in
What
a
did
new
it?
book by now.
What
So
did they say about Regina George? What did they say? Like who here has felt whatever about Regina George? Oh my God, what is it?
victimized or
What
something.
Victimized.
been victimized?
So if anybody has been victimized by Michelle, Kenyatta, Cynthia, or myself, like please raise your hand. We're sorry.
I was not a Regina. I
Open
was
your
a
eyes.
Regina to Regina. So I was not,
Yeah.
I was, I don't want to say a vigilante, but I hated to see people get bullied and to get picked on. I hated when other people try to make people feel small.
Yeah,
I think I'm more of a Regina
100%.
in my adult life than I was back then, but I was definitely a Regina to the Reginas because who are you talking to? Like, like that was just
Yeah.
like my attitude back then. Like, girl, you're not about to bully me. Like, you don't matter that much to me. And that like killed it. And then like being on the cheer team, there was a lot of Reginas, and they tried real hard. So I had to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that a lot in our high school. And I was on the soccer team, volleyball team. So like I didn't have one clique that I was a part of. I was in everything because I did culinary. I had friends in band, like we did all sorts of things. So I kind of was an outsider to a lot of it, so I could watch a lot of it.
So
And can we
there's
just talk about how, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. See, what do we say about
No,
saying I'm sorry? That's me.
My
That's
bad.
me.
That's me.
Uh,
That's me.
See,
I did that.
even my bad. We're gonna get through this. Yeah, that's me. Go ahead with your point because I was gonna move us into Act Two with asking questions because there's so many directions that we could go, but I almost
Oh no,
wanted to.
I can reverb it into a question. No, no
All right,
worries.
so
Let's go.
why don't we move into Act Two and start with a question round because there is so much to unpack that I think maybe we need a little bit of structure. So why don't you kick it off?
Okay, so Michelle, you start with saying that you don't think that they could make this movie now. So do you think that teenagers today would have the same type of reaction to a Regina George as we did back then? Would they have felt so bullied in a sense, or do you think that they are just emotionally smarter than we were?
Oh no. 100% I think that they are going to have the same reactions. I almost think that, and I don't have kids, but I have nephews and nieces in school, and I almost think it's amplified now because we didn't grow up with cell phones. We didn't get blasted, well, in high school I didn't have a cell phone. I still had a pager, and I think I got a cell phone my senior year. So I think it's almost amplified their feelings and emotions nowadays. At least that's how it seems. But again, I don't have kids. I don't have somebody in high school to compare that to. But just
See, I
hearing
think
this.
I think
Go
a
ahead.
Regina George would be way savvier in that she would be an influencer. She would be she
Okay.
would do it passive aggressively, and because she would know that image is everything. So I wonder, like, when she compliments people to their face, and then doesn't and then says something different when they're not there, she would be very careful. It's kind of like, don't they have fake Instagram profiles or fake accounts? The
Yeah.
shit talking would be happening in these fake rooms, and you just like wouldn't get invited.
Trolls.
Or yeah,
So
like,
like the burn book would be like a Instagram page
yes,
ran by like an
yes.
anonymous source. Yeah.
Would be
Like,
comments.
what?
Like the
Yeah.
comments and the
Oh my
blasted
God.
photos.
Isn't that what Gossip
Yes.
Girl was the burn book, but digitized? Because Gossip Girl was kind of like Perez's original intentions, like, except Perez Hilton, you knew who he was. But that's the overlap that I would see and notice. Like, Mean Girls came first, Gossip Girl came second, and now it's, instead of being like a blog, it would be TikTok accounts or something to that effect. But I think, like, in person, they would go out of their way because they want followers, they want people to like them, and so it would all happen
It would be
covertly.
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the big thing they use is Snapchat, because I remember when Snapchat first came out, and I think my generation used it for cheating because everything deleted after 24 hours. But I think
Mhm.
the next generation used it for bullying, and they still are. It's still a huge issue because the evidence disappears. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Gives them a
Cynthia,
lot
what
of
about
freedom
you?
too. I think it gives them a
Yeah,
lot of freedom too. Social media allows them to be whoever they want to be, right? They don't have to stick to
Or
some
hide
sort of,
behind who they think they want to be.
right.
yeah,
That
it's
you
true
can be
too.
Regina online. Like, essentially, you
The
could.
illusion.
I will
Yeah.
say too, I think that the hierarchical system that I think used to happen does not happen as often anymore. It's very different.
Like
I
like
which
the
I wouldn't know. No, go ahead, Kenny. I would say I have no exposure other than, again, same as Michelle, nieces and nephews.
I seen that too, Cynthia. Just from like working in some of the high schools, like you don't see, like, remember how like the you used to have like jocks and then cheerleaders and then math club and debate team and all. They don't have that no more.
Yeah, it's very different. And it's like you wouldn't be able to tell, like I feel like you used to be able to tell who was popular and who is not. I don't think you can really tell anymore.
They don't, and it's
And there
because go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and there's also kids that are just like across the board in all sorts of groups, like not just
Hmm.
staying within their what I think we used to consider our friend groups. They're like all over the place.
And I think it has a lot to do with like outer appearance too. I actually made a TikTok about this a while back. And I said, I can't tell anymore. Like the popular girls, they don't dress up and get dolled up for school anymore. Everybody's in pajama pants and Crocs. And it's like I said the white girls, they're not even white girling anymore. Like, where is the Hollister jeans and the Aeropostale shirts? Like, y'all don't wear Guy
Oh, I do
Harvey no
not miss
more.
that.
Like
I do not miss
but
that.
I do because you know what, y'all popped y'all did y'all shit when y'all busted out with the whole Hollister fit, and like you could just tell everybody had like their own style, and everybody were individuals. Now kids just they don't
Baggy
care.
shirts and you can't see their
Like
shorts.
a t-shirt, some sweats, hair in a rat's nest or whatever. But I remember I used to literally get up 2 hours before school to do my makeup, to do my hair, to make sure I had a good outfit on. But kids don't do it no more.
Do you think that's because of the pandemic or just because that's just where we're
Both
at?
comfort.
Mhm.
I will say, like boys, like they don't wear anything but like basketball shorts or athletic wear so that they can just like start shooting hoops at any time. Like, and it's a
Mm,
real thing.
mm.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
nephew
like
is 16 and he doesn't wear jeans or pants. He always has like the workout with the little underwear showing from the bottom of the shorts. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
I
yeah,
love
and
that
you
the
see it,
90s
and
are
you
coming back. That's very
oh
90s. Like
yeah,
I think of in Clueless, and even I mean living in New York City when I see, and I'm not talking about high schoolers, but I am talking about and I'm not trying to make this a millennial Gen Z, but when we're talking high school, or even like right before high school, we're talking Gen A. Like that's the one that's like to be on the lookout for, because like everybody's forgetting about Gen X, and actually millennials are saying right now that as soon as Gen A starts talking shit about Gen Z, then we can be like the forgotten generation, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But I look down the streets with what these girls are wearing, and I'm like, this looks like 90s grunge, and and then
Do
same
you
thing when
remember
you
those
said,
belts with, do you remember those belts with like the circles and they were metal and they were like
mm-hmm,
really thick? They're wearing those again.
yeah.
It's
oh
Yeah,
my
crazy.
and they
God.
they know you're a millennial, and I read super millennial because if you've got a side part, if you wear skinny jeans, and I think there's a few other ones, but those are the main two. And I'm not even that big into skinny jeans because I'm more of a dress girl, or I'm just wearing like leggings. But even if you go to the gym, I learned if you don't wear your socks over your leggings, if you wear like ankle socks, that's a difference between like if you're a millennial or not. And I'm like, man, I can't keep up.
Oh my
And
That's
God.
isn't
crazy.
isn't
That's
isn't
80s.
that still a little bit bullying, like at a generational level? That's like, oh, you're a millennial. I'm like, yeah, I am, and I'm proud of it. Like
It
I'm not
is, but
trying to look
it goes both
younger.
ways. We do
It,
it too.
man, no, I'm trying to let them live. Like I'm like listening to this, and part of me is a little bit like, man, don't you want to like show up to the world with some pride? But that's my preference. Like I like clothes being armor, and I will say with this movie, I enjoyed that they bonded over shopping. Like that's something I do with my friends is like over clothes. And so it's like weird for me to picture high school being like, we're just going to show up and be comfortable. Part of me doesn't blame them for that. Like as somebody who works from home, and I only need to really like look good from, I'm wearing, you can't see my skirt right now, but I'm wearing a very comfortable skirt. I get the prioritization of being comfortable, but I also do love like thinking of the world as your runway, but not to the point where somebody's gonna, I don't know, like you're not good enough because of what you wear. Like going back to Regina being like, oh my God, that's so cute. Where'd you get that? And then having to now mistrust people because as soon as you walk away, they're like, oh, did she think? What was she thinking? So,
Yeah, I get
oh,
that, but that just goes to show that at the same time, like school was our social life. Like we didn't
yeah.
do many social activities and things outside of school, and if we did with the people we went to school with. These kids now, like school is like work. You just have to do it. And then they
Mm-hmm.
have completely separate social lives. And when you see them out in their social lives, like it's to the nines. Like they just blew me away. Cause it's like
Mm, mm,
I went to school to be seen. Yo, like if I had a good outfit to
mm.
wear, I was wearing it to school because it would be seen.
This
So
actually
I have a
reminds me of something our advisor told us. She was like, you should always compliment people because they might think that they look great that day, right? Like this
Yeah.
whole
mhm,
idea that of like, oh, I don't, she didn't really like her outfit, but like, maybe that person felt really amazing that day. Like they got ready and so.
mhm. So going back to the movie for a second, not that we completely left it, but we did go into a little bit of a generational differences conversation. What was a line from the movie that stuck out with you or sticks out with you or that you hear in the ether?
Oh, it's one where Katie says something about don't tell somebody you're fat. Don't tell, oh, I can't think of how she says it, but Katie says it at the end. I'll find the quote. Who
Not
else
all
has
at once,
one?
fam.
I would say the when Janice is like mocking Katie uh for her turning into a plastic.
That's actually when I was watching the movie, it's the first and only time you hear them say the title of the movie. Like when she's riding around the car and Damien's like, Janice, I gotta go home. It's my curfew is 11.
When he keeps car's not stopping, car's not stopping.
Your car's not stopping. And at the very end, right before they drive away, she goes, "You are a mean girl." Like, and then he takes off. I didn't realize until I rewatched this a week ago. I don't think that the title of the movie is said at any other point. They're just referred to as the plastics, never like being mean girls. Anyway, that was yours. Mine is there are two things. Like I go back and forth between like Katie and Gretchen Wieners because like I remember I never really felt bullied in high school. I mean, I definitely felt I had frenemies in high school, and I definitely felt shamed in high school. I mentioned in a previous episode like how I got in trouble at the end of 10th grade, so I felt like an outcast the same way that Katie did after she took the responsibility for the burn book, and then all of a sudden she went from being on this pedestal to being like ostracized. But I remember I had a group of friends at one point who like told me a guy couldn't be my boyfriend or they wouldn't be friends with me. And so I broke up with him. And this I was very young. And then years later I got a different boyfriend and they gave me the same ultimatum. It was kind of like the same thing. Like, you can't sit here if you're not wearing pink. I'm wearing hoop earrings. You can't wear hoop earrings. So when Gretchen Wieners goes on this like diatribe about how her parents got her this really beautiful set of earrings and Regina was like, told her she couldn't wear them, so she had to pretend. That was one thing that really stuck with me. It's not like a memorable line, but it's like then she goes on and she's like, everybody likes Caesar, but Brutus is great too. And you're like, oh my God, she's got it. She's like a volcanic eruption to the point where like Brutus just stabbed Caesar. Like, damn girl, you're upset. Kenyatta?
So for me, there are two lines from this movie that I say still to this day. Like I don't tell my daughter good job like when she does stuff. I'm like, you go Coco. And then she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it, but it just like it makes me laugh every time. And then I just like will randomly say, she doesn't even go here.
When you said you go Glen Coco, I just thought of and none for Gretchen Wieners.
But that's like, just lines that just stuck like
Gretchen
glue.
Wieners. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Glen Coco.
But yeah,
I'm a cool mom.
Just try it. Just yeah. Are you girls getting young?
I can only hope.
I was picking up a friend last week and I was trying to like do it like with like smooth, but and driving in New York City isn't easy. I had a rental car and I wanted to like pull up and be like, get in, loser, we're going shopping. But I didn't execute it. The people were honking behind me. But like, oh, there's so many that are like
it
so
is.
impactful.
And like that
Yes,
whole little short spurt where Katie's talking. It's trending on TikTok right now. It's like Halloween is the one night a year a girl can be a total slut and no one will say anything to her about it. I'm like, dang. Like I didn't dress slutty for Halloween in high school. It's a damn ghost or something. Like my mom was supposed to go trick or treating.
Oh, when she showed up and dressed like actually scary, like all of the things that she didn't get, you know, like she showed up really scary and like didn't realize that everybody else dresses for beauty purposes. and they're like, somebody walks by her and is like, ah. Oh man. Well, Cynthia, you brought so many questions to the last episode. Did anybody come with any for Mean Girls? Not that it seems like we don't even need it, but figured I would give first right of refusal.
What do you guys think the theme of the movie is?
Man,
Right.
the theme of the movie. The theme of the movie. If you're
Or
listening,
what is
I wonder
your
what.
take?
Well, takeaway and theme, I think, might be two different things, but I could be wrong about that. There's definitely overlap in a pretend Venn diagram. I would say the theme is if the title is Mean Girls, the theme is like, to me, is why kindness is important. Like by the end of it, like not only kindness to others, but kindness to yourself. Because like, why are teenagers so mean? And it's like, because they don't yet understand themselves. And we put a lot of pressure on them. I felt a lot of pressure to like grow up or be an adult, but like there's like natural growing pains that occur at that age because bullying hasn't stopped. Being fake hasn't stopped. And a lot of adults, unless you make an active choice to get better, it still perpetuates into adulthood. So that would be my theme. It's not my takeaway, but that's my theme. Is like the opposite of the title. I welcome contrarian responses.
Oh no, for me, I think the theme was friendship because you got to think Janice and Regina were friends, and then through puberty and things, they weren't friends, and then you're analyzing this whole friend group, the Mean Girls, while all trying to be their friend. And in the end, they were all friends. So friendship is a constant theme throughout the whole movie. Bad and, anti-bullying and trying new things. Because I think after Regina got hit by the bus, she was playing soccer in the end or something.
She was playing lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
Yeah. We're like from the South. We're like, isn't that all the same sport?
Right. And then she was sitting with different people at the lunch table. So she was,
somebody pointed this out on social in the last couple of weeks. And I don't remember if I caught this when I first saw the movie, but what ended their friendship in middle school was because Janice Ian told Regina George that she was Lebanese, and Regina George thought she meant she was a lesbian. So she didn't understand that Lebanese isn't the same thing as being a lesbian. And so she, like, everybody's like, did you know that Janice Ian? And then at the very end of the movie, when one of the mathlete guys was like, girl, are you Puerto Rican? She's like, no, I'm Lebanese. And like, you're supposed to get that the whole reason why they stopped being friends was because of a misunderstanding.
Wait, sidebar. Have y'all seen the new Walmart commercial with all of them?
Yeah. Oh.
It's fantastic.
Walk us through it.
So basically, I think Katie pulls up in the car. She's like, get in, Luther, we're going shopping. And then you see, Gretchen pulls up. And then you see Katie and you see Karen and you see Kevin interact with their kids, the new Mean Girls. It's a fantastic ad. Go watch it. It's for Walmart Black Friday, but it's great.
That's cute. Michelle, Cynthia, the theme of Mean Girls.
I would say acceptance and being liked. Everybody wants to be liked, like in the movie. Everybody's just wanting and looking for acceptance. You think Katie's coming to a new school. She's like, how am I going to meet new friends? How am I going to talk to people? The teacher, she wants the students to like her. The principal wants the teacher to like him. The gym teacher wants to be liked by his acquaintances. Like everybody's just wanting to be liked. Yeah. I think acceptance. I think everybody the whole time is just wanting some sort of relationship and acceptance.
I agree with
Everybody had a
everything
mean
everyone said.
girl.
Yeah.
Everybody knew the one girl who was sleeping with the teacher because wasn't the gym teacher like hooking up with the Asian girl?
Oh
Both.
God.
Yeah, like this movie just hit like everybody's high school experience.
I think
Yeah,
also miscommunication here too.
yeah, lots of miscommunication throughout all of it.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
how we take miscommunication, like perception versus reality, and project it onto us.
Yeah, not knowing what they really mean and then just putting your own spin on it because
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
one, you're young, you're a sophomore or a junior in high school. So if I don't know what Lebanese means, then guess I'm going to tell what I think it might mean, which you can relate
Mhm.
to like being an adult too when you see people you work with not understand something you say. So
Perspective,
Yeah.
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 And it's like, how far will you go for acceptance? Like Katie changed who she was completely to be
Mhm.
accepted by people she barely knew.
And
I
it's like
think
she
they
was
all
okay with
did.
it too. Yeah.
who did you say, Cynthia?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think she accepted it too. Like she bought into it, like into
Mhm.
her new persona. Even though she totally identified with her original friends, right? Damien
Yeah.
and Janice. But she felt like it was okay, it was acceptable because she was a character.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, my question for each of you is going to be the most cringeworthy moment, and I'm gonna go first here while maybe you're thinking about it. And I would say, like, on the subject of her changing herself, she was gifted at math, and I was like angry at her for pretending to not know it to get attention from a guy. And I'm like she was that was like one of the things that drove me the most nuts. Like, it was obvious that she was originally doing it to pretend to be a part of the plastics, but she didn't need to do it for Aaron Samuels. And she's like, was like essentially rejecting a part of her because somebody asked her at the beginning of the movie, like, why did she like math? And she was like, oh, I love it because no matter where you are, it's the same. And so she genuinely loved it and rejected a part of herself, because it was perceived as not being cool. And then, she wanted the attention from this dude. And that there were a lot of cringeworthy moments, but that was one that I was like, really? Like, that's where we're going with this? And clearly it still sticks with me.
Dumbing yourself
Cringeworthy
down. I
moment.
think Kenyetta brought
Mhm.
that up in another episode we did, didn't you? Bringing
Oh
your
yeah. It
standards
was the first
down. Yeah,
episode. Yeah.
Barbie.
But they did
Yeah.
that with the whole character of Karen. Like
Mm-hmm.
being
Yeah.
stupid was her character. Like they really played into the dumb blonde stereotype.
Yeah, they
There's
did.
a recent Vanity Fair interview with Amanda Seyfried where she said it was easy for me to play Karen because that was who I pretended to be in high school. And you even see Paris Hilton now coming out and saying she knew, like, Paris Hilton is now well known for being a very smart businesswoman, and she knew with My Simple Life with her and Nicole Richie that she even changed her voice. Like, look at all these people, even in celebrity world, that they change their voice and
That's
they embody
why.
a persona. Yeah, because it's it's just perceived as I don't know, like, more likable. You're more likable if you're not a know-it-all, if you don't come across as being too smart. And another line from the movie that I like, when Regina's upset about something and she's like, "You want to go do something fun? You want to go to Taco Bell?"
Also, to go back to what you were saying, like, women, like just in general in society, uh, we don't want to be seen as difficult, right? Because then we're like,
Mm.
Right.
if we actually give our opinion or we are, have a contradictory belief, like that sometimes is seen as like a negative thing towards us, right? Voicing our
Yeah.
opinions sometimes.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that was a little bit cringeworthy was they went to a store called 357. Wasn't it
Oh,
357 or 135? I can't remember which one it was.
135.
It was 135, but do you remember the
Mm.
actual name of the real
Whoa.
store? The real store was 759. I remember that store.
Okay,
Or
that's
was it
okay. I
579?
thought I was.
It was 579. They only had sizes 5, 7, and 9, and you could not shop there if you didn't have if you didn't have the sizes.
Well,
So they made
remember
a
when they're
play
all,
off of that.
yeah, remember they're all looking in the mirror and they're like, "Oh my God, look at my pores," or "Oh my God, like look at my thighs," and they're all standing in a mirror, putting themselves down, and Katie's just sitting there like self-assured, and they look over at her and she's like, "Sometimes I have really bad breath in the morning," and they're like,
Ew.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
"Ew." But
That's right.
this body shaming that occurs, and the fact that they were essentially showing like you can't like yourself, like you do need to think
Mhm.
something is wrong with you. And the whole time she's like, I want to lose I want to lose 3 pounds, and like, is butter a carb? It's just, that was also cringeworthy. Was watching already like beautiful women, beautiful girls, because I think they said Lindsay Lohan and Amanda Seyfried's characters are the only ones who were 17. I think Gretchen Wieners and Regina George were in their 20s at this point, which we could have a separate conversation about adults playing high schoolers. It just, what example does that set that you think you're supposed to look like a certain way? But um, clearly beautiful girls and women putting themselves down and putting other people down for their bodies. Like that was, other than dumbing yourself down, I'd say the second one is like you're expected to think something is wrong with you, and that's normal.
So that like what was kind of cringe for me is like in that sense when Regina ate ate the protein bars, gained the
Mhm.
weight, and she had on sweatpants on Wednesday, and she was like, "Well, this is the only thing that fits me right now." She was really vulnerable,
Mhm.
and they were like, "So you can't sit with us."
You
I
made
think
the
it was you
rule. You
can't
can't
wear
sit here.
sweatpants.
Yeah.
I'm like I know all their rules. You can't wear sweatpants twice in 1 week, and she had already worn them. Pink on
Yeah.
Wednesdays.
Pants. Yeah.
I think you can only wear your hair in a ponytail
Once.
like once.
Yeah. And these are rules Regina had set, and now she's looking for a little bit of grace. And they basically deny her the grace that she's done to them. But I was like, oh man. Because she was really defeated in the moment, and I felt for her. That was like the only time in the movie I felt for Regina George.
Well, she had never been on the receiving end. Like she was always the one that was like, Gretchen Wieners, you can't wear hoops, or if you're not wearing pink, you can't sit here. Which, can we all pause and think about Lindsay Lohan wearing that pink shirt of Damien's? And he says to like Janice Ian and David, I don't have it. I don't own anything pink. And Janice like she doesn't. And Damien's like, I do.
And then the car scene, when he doesn't stop the car, he says, I want my pink shirt back.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
Oh, one of the best characters in that show. The person who said, "You go, Glen Coco,"
Yeah.
and none for Gretchen Wieners. Any other questions or topics to discuss before we move into Truth or Dare?
I want to read the quote that I was trying to remember because it's probably going to bring us full circle. When
Yeah.
Katie says, calling somebody else fat won't make you any skinnier, calling someone stupid doesn't make you any smarter, and ruining Regina George's life definitely didn't make me any happier. So that was one of the quotes that I liked.
It's a really good
I would
one.
say I would say that's another theme that we haven't talked about, which actually came up when we were talking in the last episode about beef, is forgiveness. And that was like the close of the end. Like Aaron Samuels forgave Katie for all sorts of things. Janice and Damien forgave Katie. There was this like forgiveness that happened. Even the teacher, Miss Norberry, had
Yeah.
to forgive Katie because she was in the burn book as well as like a drug pusher. I'm a pusher. I push
I'm a
people.
pusher.
I'm a pusher. And yeah, the subject of forgiveness keeps coming up in these stories. Thanks for reading that quote. Look at you coming back full circle. Cool. Well, without further ado, we can move into Act 3 and play what we came to play, which is Truth or Dare. Anybody want to dare to go first? I can't help myself. I can kick things off. I think I always go last while each of you are thinking. I'm going to choose truth because there is a truth that I haven't told, at least while being recorded, which is we're on the fourth episode of this podcast, and Cynthia and I were driving down. The truth I want to tell is why we're even here, which Cynthia and I were driving down from Florida. We were listening to a book called, oh my gosh, Cynthia, what is it?
Hello, beautiful.
Hello, Beautiful. And very rarely, it's easy to watch a movie with somebody or even a show, but very rarely you get to experience a book at the same time as somebody. And we listened to that book on day one of the drive because it was like 20 hours from New York down to Florida. And then we were listening to a book called like Rich as Fuck by a girl that I can't remember the author name. We listened to one fiction, one nonfiction, and Cynthia and I were talking about things that we wanted to do and why we weren't doing them. And Cynthia brought up potentially wanting to have a podcast and all the reasons why, all the reasons not to do it, whether it's exposure or whether it's the market is saturated. And I, hopefully it came across very lovingly, said to her, you keep putting all of these, not just Cynthia, but like all of us do this. We keep putting these limits, and they're self-imposed limits. And it's even what in the book Rich as Fuck she was talking about this illusion of things that get in our way, and we like create these objections that stop us from pursuing things. And as she was as she was essentially talking about these reasons why we shouldn't do this, I was like, don't you remember in Mean Girls when she's at the math competition, and they choose, they're like, the girl, we're going to choose the girl too. And then they're trying to figure out the solution to the problem. And Lindsay Lohan's character, Katie, all of a sudden realizes it's a trick question. And she goes, limit does not exist. Buzzes in, is like, the limit does not exist. And so I said to Cynthia, I was like, every time you say, a reason why you can't do something, I'm going to be like, okay, Lindsay Lohan, like to remind her, like the limit does not exist. There's no such thing as a limiting belief. And I think we all still operate, or we don't do things out of fear. What all did these characters do out of fear? Out of fear of judgment, out of fear of being bullied, out of fear of like what people are going to say about them, like lack of acceptance. And if it wasn't for Mean Girls, like that moment was what inspired the reason why we're here in the first place, is because each of us right now are putting ourselves out there by even sharing our stories. And so without this movie, without that realization of like in a joking way, like it's a trick question, like the limit does not exist. And so that's the truth that I try to carry with me every single day, and is one of the reasons why we're here. So thanks, Lindsay Lohan. Thanks, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, and whoever wrote that in the script, because something that I saw in a movie 20 years ago is the reason why I'm sitting here talking with my friends about this story.
This is awesome.
And scene. Who's next?
I'll go next.
Go. Oh,
Go, Kenya.
Paper, rock, scissors.
Ready?
1, 2,
2, 3.
3.
What do you have paper?
Are you both paper?
you can go, Michelle. Go ahead.
I was gonna say truth also. Just to simplify things, try to just work on one thing. If it's out of my control, try to let it go. Try not to let something bother me. Just solve the problem that's in front of me that I'm facing, whatever day or time, whatever situation I'm in. Is not forgiveness so much, but acceptance and just letting go of things that I can't control.
Love that.
Well, mine was the truth as well. So the truth is, I used my inner Regina George as a defense mechanism. And I don't feel bad about it because it's mostly against adults. So
Are they other Reginas?
yes, a lot of them, or it's really just I say defense mechanism because whenever I feel as if someone is trying to belittle me or make me feel small, I feel this need to do it to them only on a grander scale. And it doesn't make me feel good. There's a small bit of satisfaction I get from it, but I realize it's still a mean thing to do. And I'm a better person than that. And there's always a better way to handle things. I know Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, but I'm not Michelle Obama. Like, I will go to the gutter with you. And that's just something I have to work on. So I need to tame my inner Regina George and stop using that as defense.
And I think that I'm going to go with dare this time. I think I'm going to dare to try to always stay true to myself, because sometimes I let this like not matter as much. But I think as I'm getting older, I'm recognizing how important that is. So yeah, I'm going to try to stay true to myself more.
I love that. Well, lots of things for us to learn today, whether it is practicing acceptance, doing your best to channel your inner Michelle Obama to when they go low, we go high. But if you do get in the gutter with people, you just do your best to get better. Yeah. And then in terms of being true to yourself, like that's easier to do when you practice self-awareness and you realize like, I think I heard Kenyatta you say like a defense mechanism, like what do we do to self-protect? And vulnerability seems to come up on a lot of these episodes. And I'm gonna like do a shout out to my therapist, because she asked me in the last week or so, she's been reading a book from Mel Robbins around what are our deepest fears and how does that drive our decision making? Because if you have a fear of like vulnerability, it's like, will people accept me? If you don't stand up for yourself, are you people pleasing? If you are a different version of yourself, are you then not being true to yourself? And fears are just limiting beliefs. And again, just repeating that one line, like the limit does not exist. So the more that we realize like that it's self-imposed, the easier it is to release ourselves from that. So if you have a different theme or takeaway or thoughts from Mean Girls, we would love to hear it. If you have any ideas around stories that we should unpack, doesn't matter if it's a movie, a show, or a book. I think we do a better job when it's movies that we've seen several times. Feel free to comment or DM us and let us know. And the drill, like follow, share, whatever you Gen Zs or Gen As do these days. I can't keep up. But that is a wrap on episode 4. Thanks so much.
Listening to Truth or Dare to Share by Ambitiously Intuitive.